Hello guys, in this video I wanted to talk about the current bit of doing smokes and what's available out there, and the difference about the doing it in production and working for big studios like ILM, MPC, or Weta or DNAG, any of the big studios, and doing stuff at home, and the condition that those effects were done under versus the condition that you have at home to create certain effects. Now, what I'm gonna mention and talk about is not in any way to disrespect any work done by any artist at any studio, but there is things that I have to point out and things that I need to talk about. And again, this is not to disrespect anyone. Now, when you work in a studio, you have a lot of tools, you have a lot of pipelines available, and you have a lot of hardware available for you to use. So let's say you have no idea about Houdini sims. You can you can learn the basic of doing any sim. It doesn't have to be Houdini, any sim. You can drop in the solver and run 100 wedges. Okay, run 100 sims, and you get a feedback. You can play blast them all and come back tomorrow and you have 100 tests. Okay, this thing you cannot do at your home. 100 iterations will take probably 100 days or 150. Depends on how much hardware you have. And then you have to preview them. When you work on a studio, even if you're not really good at that stuff, you can brute force it. You can brute force the solution and make use of the hardware that you have there. And you can kick off 20 different sims and then come back tomorrow and pick the 5 that you liked, show them to the art director, and he will say, I like this one, let's go use this one. And that's it. There's nothing huge happening there. Now, what the other thing that a lot of these studios have, they have a lot of presets. They have a lot of built-in tools designed for effects, designed for explosions, designed for pyros. They have a lot of references, and all that resources, it only helps make you work faster. And let's say you have a good starting point for an explosion. All you have to do is make variation by tweaking certain things, because someone else has spent a lot of time doing R&D, and the R&D team has spent a lot of effort developing, let's say, Plume at ILM, which is a GPU based. So you have a lot of good starting point to get that interesting effects. But you don't have any of that at home. You don't have any tools. You only have Houdini, and you have very limited amount of hardware. Now, how do you meet and get the quality of these studios with this limited hardware? Well, you have to first understand how the sim works, how the solver works. You have to make your own solver to reach the quality without having to increase the quality of the solver, the resolution of the sim to something crazy. You have to artistically control this, so you have to do a lot of iteration. You have to wait, and you have to be as efficient as possible, because you don't have a lot of hardware. You only have limited time of hardware, so there's a lot of constraints. And then when it comes to rendering, it's another whole story. And most of the big studios, they have a completely different render. Like ILM, they have a GPU renderer for smoke, where you do a sim, it will give you back a render right away on the GPU. That kind of luxury you don't have. You have the tools available on the market, which are Fume Effects, Houdini, and the others. And again, with Maya, Fume Effects, and all this, you're basically getting what everybody else is getting. You're not making what the big studios are doing. So we need something different, and that's where Arnold comes in, because Arnold is a very high-end production renderer, and if properly used, you can use it at your own at home and push the quality similar to what big studios are doing, if not higher. And while working at home or doing smaller stuff, you have a lot more constraints. So you need to solve all these problems that none of the big studio has. They can just brute force things. So the reason I'm talking about this is, when you see work done by MPC, or when you see work done by Scanline, get that effects artist and have him at home do the same thing. Have him sit down at Houdini or with very limited amount of hardware and software, and let's see what they can do. Most of them will not be able to do this stuff. Most of them will not be able to recreate what they have done at ILM. So I want you guys to separate between what the artist is really doing and how much the studio is contributing to this. The other thing that we completely forgot is when you work at home, you most likely have a friend or two that you show them the sim, but and to give you feedback and say you can make it this, you can make it faster, you take this, take a look at this reference, but that's about it. When you work at a big studio, you have a concept designer, you have an art director, you have dailies, and you keep working on that stuff for months and months and months to get certain effect to look the way it was. So when you see a reel of someone doing an effects, don't just, be super surprised. The amount of time and effort it took to create that shot is considerable. It's a huge amount. And what I'm trying to say is, don't be surprised by the quality of these studios, because they have a huge, much bigger investment compared to what you can do at home. And if we can, with very limited amount in tech, reach 60% or 70% of the quality, I think we're going to be in a very good shape. But hopefully we're going to make something better. Now, what I'm going to show next is, again, not to disrespect or devalue any of the artist work, but I'm going to show an actual shot from the Avenger. This is a spoiler alert if you haven't seen the Avengers. I can't remember which one though. I'm going to show actual effects from the shots, and let's take a look at the quality and see what we're dealing with. So this is one shot, and I was tapping through, and look at this dot here. You can see a perfect sphere emitting the smoke, and if you keep playing, it creates there's another explosion next to it. I have no idea what this is. Okay, let's take a look at this element here. Now see the alignment of the thing exploding, the end, and this. Now look at this shape. Look at how perfect it is. This is not a great effects. You don't want to see that. You don't want a perfect billowy smoke like that. If you look at references, they look much more realistic. They have a lot more details on them. Let's continue. Again, don't take the wrong idea out of this. Now, same goes here. Let's take a look. This one is much better, actually. This one is much better. It's really hard to get some interesting shapes. But let's take a look at the smoke details itself. There's not so much details. It looks like a low-res sim to me. Okay, let's continue. Let's see here. This is from the back. And there is no scattering on the sim. There is no emission from this. There is no lighting from this onto the building, onto the whatever this is. And I think this is a real plate. This is a real element probably, but there is not so much scattering or anything from that lighting pass. Let's continue. Yeah, this one is a sim. There's nothing impossible for this. It's just a simple sim with some tendrils and a lot of smoke, a lot of fire. You can see here actually it's blowing out. There is not so much details happening. And let's take a look at this. This is a sim. This is a sim. This is a sim. And all these by themselves, all of them, they're not really complex. It's just the amount of elements you have per shot. Now look at this, for example. There is no indirect illumination between this guy and this. There's no details. It's very soft, which could be an artistic decision, but this is not a hard sim. You can just put a plane, some noise, and have some wind, and you get that. Actually, this custom solver, we could easily make this right now. And let's take a look at the fire stuff. Look at this, for example. look at how mushroomy the emission is. There is not so much details. This is a very low-res sim. This one looks really good, but I'm not sure if it's a real element or if it's CG. And then, yeah, these guys. I personally don't like seeing a sim where everything is blown out because you don't see any details. Let's take a look at this guy. See? There's not so much details. It's just the overall feel of all of this added together. There's a lot of Atmo, there's a lot of comp. The other thing I forgot to talk about is we haven't seen the actual render and how it looks like. You know, there's so much more that can happen to it in comp that can help blend the element with the environment. Look at this element here. There's okay details. I'm not impressed, to be honest. Let's continue. The myth. Okay, so we have another sim. Cool. So this one, look at the billowy shape. This is the main problem that we're going to be solving. This is the mushroom effects, and then they have a lot of tendrils emitting from this that will also help break. But the overall details, the overall information, visual information, there is not a lot of impressive detail. There's not a lot of fine details in the sim. Yeah, I'm not liking personally how it drags through the wind, but that's probably an artistic direction. Let's see, this one is just a simple fire sim, and it's a very low res sim. I'm not seeing, it's probably because they have small screen space usage. No, let's see, I'm gonna try and find, yeah, so let's see what we have here. Okay, so what is this? What is this? I don't know. I really don't know. This looks like a comp, a 2D element. Now, obviously, I don't know about anything about the condition that they did this effects under, but looking at the effects themselves, the passes. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, this looks very okay to me. Yeah, no, I don't want to look at that. Okay, let's see what we have here. Not very visible. Let's see, there's another one. Pardon me. Yep, this guy. Yeah, you don't see a lot of details in the fire. You don't see a lot of that. It's just poof, and then it dissipates quickly. Obviously, they may have a specific artistic direction, which I have no problem with, but I'm showing you guys what is the visual, what is this image composed of, and then we know what we can aim for. If this is the quality of, you know, blockbuster movie, then if we meet this quality, then we're pretty good. This one looks okay as well. I don't see any interaction between the smoke. This feels like a very simple temperature trick to fake the indirect illumination. Oh, nice. Let's see. Yeah, look at the fire details. It's not, and a lot of glows. Yep, 15 glows. Okay, let's continue. Not very interesting. Okay, this part is cool. So look here. Look at the details, the amount of details. It's very uniform. There's not so much. You could do this with just a box and some noise on it to get this more details on this. You don't even need a sim. Let's see. There is no fire illumination from this guy onto the sea, which is fine. Okay. Looks okay. Hard to see. Let's move on. Yep. So this for example. Okay. What's this? What's this? I don't know. I really don't know. Like, I'm not impressed with all these sims all together. And there is a lot of examples, and honestly, I don't want to make this too long, but there's the overall quality of the sim is not really about the individual element. When you see complexity like this, it's not about the individual element, it's about the amount of elements put together. And I'm gonna show the quality that hopefully we're gonna be able to get. In this workshop. This one is done via the default smoke solver. Actually, let me show a new render that I did. And this is raw render. There is no compositing, nothing done to it. And this is a mid to a high res sim. And you can see I've not done any color correction. There is nothing. See how much details there is in the sim. See how much information we have. There is no blowout. Even the white here, there's a lot of information there. It's not just a blob. You can see there's all kinds of fine details, and the quality, the render has a little bit of noise overall, so that may be abstracting a little bit with the quality, but you can see there's all kinds of details, all kinds of fine details. And I've not seen, look at how much details here. Look at the fine fire details. And honestly, I've not seen this much details. Look here. And this is one single sim, not 15, not 100, just one sim. And so to me, being able to achieve this quality with a reasonable hardware and not being a big studio is definitely a big achievement. Now let me continue and show some more images. This is more stills. This one is another still. Look at the details here. I'm not saying that my sims are awesome, but I think if we fully understand what's happening with the sim, we can get a very high-end quality similar to what a lot of studios are doing. Look at the scale here. And you don't see a puff with just a uniform area. Look at this. Look at how much details we have here. There's a lot of details here, but it's blown out. You can see it here as well. It's another example. And this is the main solution that we're going to implement. And this is a high-res sim, I believe. And look at how fine the details, how far we can push the quality of the sim. We can get some really high-end details out of these sims. And the sim time is very reasonable, by the way. We're not doing anything crazy here. So I think in terms of quality, we're going to be able to produce something really good compared to what everybody else is doing. I'm not talking about individual artists. I'm talking about studios. The quality is done at the studio level with the tools and everything. And remember, everything I showed here is a raw render. There is no compositing. There is no 2 weeks of treatment done on this effect. And these are some of the other environment as well. You can see we have interaction, we have indirect illumination, we have reflection of the fire. This is another one. This is another one as well. Everything is interacting together, and all of this is rendered at the same time. I just split it to speed it up. The fog is also in the render. This is all in the render. And hopefully by the end of this workshop, we'll be able to create this and create something that meets what's currently being done by big studios. Thank you guys for watching, and see you in the next video. Bye bye.